You don't have to be in a rush to fix. Like I said earlier, like I am not broken. You are not broken. And so you have to switch your mindset from I need to fix this to I need to heal this. Welcome back to Unfiltered Yaps. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for showing up. This is the podcast where we show up for ourselves and for each other. I'm your host, Shanae. And as always, we keep it honest, we keep it messy, and we keep it real. With that said, for my visual watchers, listeners, one thing I noticed is in recording my other two episodes, like I'm still new to this, and so I need my notes really badly. So if you see me looking away or looking down, it is because I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I'm staying on track without having to like reach over and do stuff. Because I am still learning how to edit, and it was rough editing out the moments where I was like reaching for something because like I reach and then was still talking or would start talking before I was like all the way back in position. And so we're keeping it honest, we're keeping it messy, and we're keeping it real. And that's my truth. So with that said, today we're going to be talking about feeling your emotions and how uncomfortable that can be sometimes. Taking it from someone who is still learning what that means. I know we always want to focus on how to fix ourselves and like sometimes feeling the emotion without having the knowledge and capability to fix it is really hard. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys today about what it means to feel your emotions. So the question this week was, what does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? And these were some really good answers. Some of them were funny, or at least one of them was funny. And so I was like, oh, I have to include that. But first, I got sitting with them and thinking about what brought you to that moment. And that is something that I'm starting to realize as I learn how to feel my emotions. What does it even mean to feel them? And why was that the emotion that came up without intellectualizing the why, just trying to find the path from baseline to that emotion, like what happened, so that way I can understand what it is that I'm actually feeling. Someone said right now it means I talk to a really nice person about it every Monday at 2 p.m. That was so funny to me. I responded and I was like, yes, I talk to my really nice person on Fridays. If it was not for that woman, first of all, I probably wouldn't even be doing this podcast because I'd be a mess. Um, what does it mean to feel your emotion? What does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? Sorry. Not reaching for a distraction, alcohol, other substances, meaningless scrolling, sex, overeating, burying yourself in work, etc. This answer was so important to me, and I think was so important to include for you guys to hear, because I think that is so true. We, as a society, a lot try to push our emotions down and to distract ourselves from what we're feeling. There were a lot of times I would just like lay in bed and be like, oh, I'm tired. But really, I was trying to distract myself with like endless scrolling on TikTok. And don't get me wrong, TikTok is hilarious. I enjoy going on TikTok. But like, am I on TikTok because I don't want to think about something else? One thing about me, I'm going to take a nap. I would get worked up and can't deal with whatever it is that I'm worked up about. And I will go to bed because when I'm asleep, I can't think about it. And when I wake up, my body is more calm from a nap. And so it's easier for me to then intellectualize what I'm feeling versus feel whatever it was that I was feeling. Not keep them locked inside and allowing myself to express them. I think that's important as well, because a part of feeling them is expressing them. And what does it look like for you to express them? Again, thinking about my personal experience, how I will suppress an emotion. I even hate, like, sometimes when I'm with my friends and we're talking and like we get into something that makes me more vulnerable, I hate to even speak because my throat gets like tight and like I'm getting ready to cry. And it's like, no, sit in that and feel that because that is important. And in talking about it, I'm expressing, the hurt and pain and vulnerability and, everything. And we deserve to express that and feel that and interpret that as, holistic human beings. What does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? It means not bottling things down. Sorry, not stuffing things down, repressing things, or bottling things up. Not pretending to be okay with shit you hate. Not pretending to be happy when you're sad. Not convincing yourself that how you feel is wrong and you should feel another way. Not letting someone else tell you to do any of these things as well. I am the queen of wrapping things up, packing them nice and tight, and pushing them as far down as humanly possible. I don't think we as a society, me personally, have been taught how to feel anything. I think we are often taught that like there are good feelings and there are bad feelings. And then a lot of the time what we feel are the bad feelings, and so we don't want to feel bad, and so it's like if I push this down, if I push this away, then I won't have to feel bad, I won't have to deal with the bad stuff, and I can focus on the good stuff, the happy feelings. And that's why we're so fucked, to be honest. Like I think, and not that it's a teacher's responsibility at all, but I think like teachers should be teaching children how to be more in tune with their emotions. I think we need to be more in tune with our emotions so that way we can teach our children how to be more in tune with their emotions. And don't get me wrong, I think we have come a long way, but I think we have an even longer way to go. I think like me as a millennial, like I will joke as like my coping mechanism, and that's not right, it's also not wrong, but I think about how Gen Z, like they are quick to be like, this makes me feel blah blah blah. I hope that the generations after them continue to develop that muscle, because I think being able to feel our emotions would like benefit us so much as a society. What does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? This one was a little rough, but I was like, I need to include it. And this person said, I don't feel my feelings. I keep them to myself. If I get mad, I stuff it deep inside until it's gone. If I'm sad, I put on a smile and pretend I'm fine. I don't talk about them at all. So no one knows what I'm feeling. This is not good, but I do not know any other way to be. I also thought it was important for me to include that response because this person is not the only person that feels like that. This person is not the only person who doesn't know how to feel things, express what they're feeling, share what they're feeling. And this sounds so cliche, and maybe a year ago I probably wouldn't be saying this, but like having a community that you can trust is really important for being vulnerable and having a safe space, because when you can create that type of environment, and like not just other people, like creating a safe space for yourself is also important, because you need to be vulnerable with yourself too, because that's where the feeling, the emotions start with you. And the reason why I say like all of that is so cliche is because, again, I a year, 2, 3 years ago would not be like, oh, I have this. Like you have to actively work for it. And I had the space. I've always had the space, but I wasn't actively working towards it because, again, emotions are icky, and to feel them myself feels like a burden on me, and then throw that on someone else, I'm like, if this is something I don't even want to deal with and unpack, why would I want to put that on someone else's plate? And so I really feel for this person. I hope that over time that they grow and can get out of it and can find, even if it's a journal. Some people love journaling, they swear by it. I'm not the best at it, and I've tried so many times. I'm not a journal girly. Like, love you girls down, really do. Like, y'all be eating it with y'all little, y'all sit down and y'all write y'all thoughts and y'all like, I just can't build that habit no matter how hard I try. Like, it's not my outlet. It's not my, Bible, so to speak. And I hope that this person can find that avenue for them to figure out how to express things. Someone else wrote, I used to be a repressor, stoic face, no emotions, etc. Now I sit with that emotion, even if it makes me uncomfortable. Then I name the emotion. Then I check what physical reaction that emotion made me feel, like clammy hands, dry mouth, and give myself permission to feel it without feeling guilty or ashamed. No rushing through it. When I feel relief is when I know the feelingy feelings. That's sorry, they did not write this correctly. When I feel relief is when I know I was feeling the feelings. If I still feel restless or stuck, then I know I need to go through the same steps again. I thought that was a really emotionally mature answer. Also, as I'll say a reformed repressor, I am getting better. And it's honestly because my therapist starts every session with, how did you feel? What feelings came up for you in the last week that we spoke? It makes me more conscious with my feelings because I know I'm going to have to come in there and I'm going to have to put words to things. But what really stood out to me about this was the physical reaction part, because that is something I've also learned over the past like year and a half. Because I am an intellectualizer, which means I don't lead with, I feel like something happens and I'm trying to think through it in my brain. I forget about the rest of my body. Like feelings live in the body. And because I live in my brain, I forget about the rest of my body, but I am learning more how feelings come up for me. I know when I'm approaching burnout or when I'm anxious because I know what that feels like in my body, or I know when I'm like super happy or like really proud about something, like my chest feels warm. And I'm still learning. Um I'm also learning how I'm learning more vocabulary for my feelings than just like, oh, I was sad, I was mad, I was angry. I think the first step is obviously being more conscious of what you feel, how you feel, and sitting with it and letting it, I mentioned this before on the other episode about Inside Out, but really that is how, my go-to for when it comes to figuring out what my emotions are. Who is on my keyboard? Why are they there? What are they trying to do? When I'm anxious, it's because my brain is trying to protect me, and I understand that, but protect me from what? And how can I coax myself to realize that, like, this thing that I'm thinking or doing is not a threat? you know, Feelings are big, guys. Um, What does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? It means crying before thinking about why exactly you're crying, letting yourself dwell and how unjust the world is before analyzing why you feel that way. And I thought that was beautiful as well because I think I'm more of a crier now. Like I've always been a crier, but crier in the sense that like I would get frustrated when I was younger. And because I wasn't understanding my emotions, the frustration would lead me to crying. Like I'm not crying because I'm sad, or at least that's what I was telling myself. I'm just crying because I'm so frustrated. Like I couldn't emotionally regulate. So I didn't know what I was feeling. And now when I cry, I'm just like, crying is cathartic. Like sometimes you just need a good big cry. You need to let it out because I think that's like your pent up emotions. Like when you are not good at letting yourself express your feelings, they need to come out of your body. They need a release. And when I cry, and I mean cry, like when I cry, like a big cry, I feel I carry a lot of like emotional tension here. And so when I cry, it feels like this is gone. Like it was built up so much that my body was like, I have to push this out. And the best way to do that is to cry. And it feels good. And That sounds weird because, like, I'm not. I mean, you can cry because you feel good, but like in those moments, I'm not crying because I feel good, but it feels good to let that out, to get that off my shoulders, to like just give myself a break and like start over. Okay, a few more. What does feeling your emotions actually mean to you? I allow myself to notice the physical sensations that occur and I let it moved through my body. I spent many years being in the logical side, just identifying what was going on and the why. And if it was too much or too intense, I suppressed it, either with distractions, substances, or doing anything to control it instead of getting it out. And the last one here is allow myself to feel what I'm feeling instead of trying to analyze why I'm feeling it. It's fine to analyze afterwards, but I find that if I go straight into logically analyzing it, then I will go straight into trying to fix whatever's causing it without letting myself sit in the feelings for a little bit. And I made that the last one because I think it really leads into why I even wanted to make this episode. And that is me and has always been me. And I'm really trying to work through it. And I don't want to say fix it because I hate to talk about myself as if I'm broken and need to be patched back together. But like, as I've been saying, as I've been reading the responses this week, is I'm an intellectualizer. I've always been. It's easier for me to think through things, to plan things. It's just how my brain works. I have inner monologue, and so my brain does not shut the fuck up, like ever. And so feeling things and thinking about things for me go hand in hand. And so I'm trying to learn how. And again, my therapist is really helpful in making me sit with the feelings. What she really does that I have a love hate relationship with is when we're talking about something, if she asks me a question, while I'm not super emotionally expressive, I wear my emotions on my face. I'm very reactionary. If I don't like something, you will see it on my face. If I feel some type of way, like when it's a hard day, like I hate to say this, like if I've had a one morning before work, I had like everything that could have gone left went left, and I still had to go to work and show up. And I got there, and my coworker that I'm really cool with knew it was not my day, just from my energy, how my posture was, how my facial expression was. And so I'm very much that type of person. Like I'm wearing my emotions on my sleeve. And people will be like, "Oh, are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, very like leave me alone. Um and so back to my therapist. I have a love-hate relationship with it because sometimes I don't notice myself do it. And we'll be talking and she'll be like, what was that face? And then in the moment, she is teaching me how to not brush past, but to sit there for a second and analyze what I'm feeling. And it's so helpful. I see how it is impacting my life in like the most positive way. I had a conversation with a friend a bit ago and we were just talking and she said something to me and I remember being like, "Ooh," when she said it, but I couldn't figure out what that was. And I sat with it for a while and I had therapy and again, what feelings came up for you since we last spoke? And I had to put a word to that feeling or to that sensation. And it made me realize that I was uncomfortable. And then came the analyzation, where in the past I would analyze first. I would have never acknowledged that I got uncomfortable about something. And in doing that first, I was able to analyze that, like, I have a thing with being misunderstood. I hate for people to not understand my point of view, or um, I will over explain so that way there's no way for them to misunderstand my intentions. And that is what was happening in that moment. And like it led me to a bigger awakening. And that was really important. And I would not have got there if I was still suppressing things down, because past me would have heard that and just been like, oop, and moved on. And I would not have circled back to it. Or if I did circle back to it, it would have been in like an endless cycle kind of way, like in the type of way where you're like, it's outside of my body, like, oh, this feeling happened because of this conversation, and so it means I can't have these type of conversations anymore. Like, I will start to kind of like close the gate, close the door, because I was being a little too vulnerable in this type of conversation. And so I need to pull myself back, because if I do that, then I'll never feel that thing again, whatever it was. Like, I wouldn't have even put a word to it. And I think what I'm learning, and what I hope you guys are learning or take away from um, this, is that emotional awareness isn't a logical process. Like, you can't, you won't ever get over the hump if you keep attacking it with your brain, when instead you need to be attacking it with your heart. You don't have to be in a rush to fix. Like I said earlier, like, I am not broken. You are not broken. And so you have to switch your mindset from I need to fix this to I need to heal this. And those are two different things. You break something, your stove is broken, you call an electrician to come and fix it so it works again. And that's not what is happening with us as people. We're healing. When you get a cut and you bleed, it hurts and it scabs over and it's sore. And you leave that scab alone, because that scab is there to help keep the blood in, to keep, the skin closed. And eventually that scab leaves. And then, yeah, you'll have, the coloration won't be the same as the rest of your skin if it's never been cut in that area, but it's closed. And sometimes you'll see that scar and you'll think about how it got there, but you'll also think about how you healed, how you've moved on, how you've gotten better. And I that is something I'm coming to terms with as well. Um and there are times that I have to catch myself. There are times in therapy where I'll say the word fix and I'll be like, "No, I don't want to use that word." And that is healing, is being conscious of the shift of your mindset and pulling yourself back and pivoting to where you need to go. Even with this podcast, I am a perfectionist, or I have perfectionist tendencies, and I have to pull myself back and pivot. And that is, it makes me uncomfortable. And I have to sit with the feeling of why that is. And it's because old me always saw pivoting as a failure. The new me that I'm growing into as I heal knows that that is not what pivoting means. Pivoting is an avenue to keep me from stopping, to keep me from going back to where I was, to keep me from having to fix myself, and focusing on that I can heal from this moment and continue on. You break a bone, the bone heals, your arm is working again, and you use that arm in a new way. Maybe you can't lift with the quantity that you used to lift, but you can still pick up, something, and maybe it's time to pick up something new or learn a new way of picking up your old things and feeling your feelings just helps us do that. And so it's time for the listener letter. Again, I don't have one. This is a new show. And so this is really more of a letter to you, whoever is listening. If you've been feeling something under the surface, something you can't quite put a name on, something you have been pushing down, just consider being here with me, listening to this episode, your sign to pause where you are, take a breath, and feel whatever it is that you're feeling. You don't have to explain it to me. Obviously, I can't hear you if you start explaining, but you don't need to explain it to me. You don't need to explain anything to anyone right now in this moment. I just want you to sit and let the emotions, flow through you and recognize them. You don't have to make it pretty. You don't have to let it you don't have to let it overpower you, but you do have to let it be real. And when you're ready to um share your story, send me a letter, or even just comment um same with a little heart emoji, and let me know that you are here, you heard, and you are feeling. With that said, if you ever want to submit a letter for this segment, you can send an email to me at unfilteredyaps@gmail.com. As a reminder, listener letters don't have to be on topic. They are mostly right now because I don't have listeners. And so I can integrate it with the topic of the day, but I'm always here to give advice, to listen to anything. So moving on to the journal prompt of the week. This week, if you gave yourself permission to not hold it all together, what emotions would you let yourself feel right now? As always, I will respond to the journal prompt on Substack along with the episode. So be sure to look out for my answer. I also wanted to share a post today from my Easy Therapy on Instagram. I'll be sure to link it so that way you guys can go. Please follow. I love this page. She's very on point with the stuff that she posts. And this week, she made a post about how to understand emotions because we were never taught this in school, which I mentioned earlier. It needs to be in the schools. I'm only gonna read two of the cards here, but there are this is a carousel. There are 12 different ones. The first one I'm gonna read is how to understand your emotions. Anger is your protector. It rises when you need a boundary. It rises when a need or boundary has been ignored. Instead of suppressing it, listen to what it's asking for. And then the second one is frustration. Frustration is a sign you're reaching the edge. It often means you're craving more support, clarity, or rest than you're admitting. The reason I picked these two to read is because I think these are the two feelings I go to the most. I read it and I was like, "Oh, girl, not you attacking me like this." um, but also, I talk to my therapist a lot about a lot of my emotions starting at anger or frustration because they are what I call the baby emotion. It's the gateway into a bigger emotion. Please be sure to follow her. Like I said, I'm going to share the link to the post. Um, and with that, we have reached the end of our episode today. Thank you for yapping with me. If this episode spoke to you, please be sure to share, subscribe, rate the podcast, do anything. Please help your girl out. I'm trying to build something here. I'm trying to build a community. I'm grateful that you showed up today. And so tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Please be sure to follow the podcast. You can find the podcast at Unfiltered Yaps on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at Shanae's Got Yaps, also on Instagram and TikTok. And please, 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 please subscribe to the Substack. You get an email when you subscribe when I drop a new episode or a new post or anything. And so it's an easy way to connect with me, and to support the podcast. And yeah, thank you again for yapping. See you guys next Tuesday.